Different headlines, but the same problems. Different industries, yet the same breakdowns. At a certain point, you have to ask, what's actually driving all of this? This is Beneath the Pattern, a podcast exploring the hidden patterns that drive the repeated problems shaping our culture. The tension we see in our politics, the burnout in our workplaces, the disconnection in our relationships, the mania in AI. They're all downstream of underlying patterns. And if we can start to see those patterns clearly, we don't just understand culture, we get the opportunity to shift it. I'm Scott Haber, and welcome to Beneath the Pattern. Okay, welcome back. So this will be an AI episode that is actually part of a larger AI series. And before we get into it, I wanted to talk about, I have a unique vantage point on the hysteria, opportunity, dilemma, and mania that's AI. I work in the heart and underbelly of AI, quite literally. So not only do I live in San Francisco, where it's the apex of the AI excitement and fear, but a lot of the people I work with are either startup founders who are building an AI, big tech workers with fears of being replaced by AI, or simultaneously big tech workers who have fears of being replaced by AI as they build their own replacement. So when I say I'm in the heart and underbelly of AI, I'm not only in the geographic capital, I'm literally in the emotional subtext of it. I'm in the excitement with the startup founders. I'm in the fears of being replaceable. I'm in the hysteria and the delirium of it's moving too fast. I'm in the mania of, am I not seeing this clearly? And it makes up a lot of the texture of the work I do. How do we deal with the fear of being replaceable? How do we build startups when it feels like the ground under our feet is constantly shifting? What ground do we stand on? And so in this series, I kind of have a unique vantage point on the emotional landscape of the people who are both most impacted by AI and might have the chance to influence it the most at the same time. And so my goal to start with this series is to take a really broad view of AI systems and human operating systems and to see how they inter-influence each other and what we might learn about other technologies, other trends, because my sense of it is these things that we think are disparate pieces are actually highly inter-influencing and potentially even causal of one another. And once we see it in AI, we can see it everywhere. We can see it in crypto. We can see it in the dot-com boom. We could probably even see corollaries in the gold rush. And it has implications not just for AI, not just for human wellness, but for all technology we build. Its fragility, its resilience, and its potential to really do good in the world. And so before we get into it, I'm going to make one small amendment. So I get into crypto by drawing analogies between the two spaces of one of the examples I gave in crypto was not factually correct. I said that meme coins, or as they're colloquially referred to, shit coins, are the biggest use case in the space. That is actually not correct. The biggest use case is stable coins. But with that being said, it doesn't take away from the main conjecture that I wanted to make from the fact that meme coins or shit coins dominate the space. And with that being said, I will now go into the episode without further ado. So please enjoy. So if you're listening to this podcast, this is my third episode, and this one is a podcast on AI and the epidemic of urgency. So I have a friend. I'll add another story here. I have a friend who is building an AI startup like everybody in the Bay. And, he's come quite far along. He's in the A16Z incubator. And the way he was talking about it, he's just like, it's such a rush and it's impossible to keep up with the wave. And every day there's new news. And he's like, I was like, so how are you discerning what's actually important for you to follow? Like, what makes it that you need to keep up with all the news? And he goes, well, I don't want to get behind. And I used to listen to these people at these huge firms who would update once a quarter with the biggest news. And they were reliable. I could trust the signal there. And he goes, but now they're posting once a week with these updates. And it's like, if I don't want to get behind, I've got to keep up with them. And so the question I asked him was, how do you know that they too are not captured by the same phenomena of trying to keep up with the Joneses of AI and getting lost in the cadence of it and thinking they need to move quicker? This, my friends, is a self-reinforcing loop. What happens is everybody is moving so freaking quick to try and capture the wave. And as we move quicker to try and capture the wave, we've created a technology that can iterate upon itself and develop quicker to mirror and resemble the human nervous system of how anxious it feels to capture this, how anxious it feels to win the profit war, how anxious it feels to get across the curve or ahead of the curve. And then since we've built a technology that can learn upon itself, it is just learning at the rate of the human nervous systems which are using it. So its pace of development is actually the pace of human urgency and human rush that's coding it. And what we don't get to ask in all of this is, what is the frickin' rush? And how much are we actually destabilizing the technology itself by projecting our insecurity onto it, by projecting our anxiety and rush onto it? So this is one of my major frames in this upcoming podcast, which is when we are using technologies from a place of insecurity and building them from a place of insecurity, we destabilize the whole frickin' technological ecosystem upon which we are building. The whole freaking ecosystem gets destabilized because the technology becomes a surrogate, a proxy, an attempt to solve our insecurity. And in it, it becomes fragile, less resilient, and does not reach its full expression of potentiality because it's trying to solve what only humans can solve. And there's breaks and fractures that happen in it. So I'd watched this happen in crypto. I was a day trader. And when crypto first came out, it was so promising, all these decentralization and hyperinflation counters and taking money out of hands of power, like on and on. And what happened? The majority of people in the crypto space are in it with meme coins to try and make a quick buck, to try and make a quick profit. Because what did crypto become? Crypto got captured by human insecurity. And people saw an opportunity to use it to feel better. Oh, if I just make a meme and trade this meme coin, then I can make a quick buck. And if I make a quick buck, well... And so what happens is crypto becomes an expression of that human nervous system. Most of the space is now dominated by shitcoins. That's what they call them. Because it's an expression of the human nervous system using it. And so what was a beautifully potent technology that still could be that, with beautiful opportunity, instead became this wild west of memes and shitcoins and literally the lowest common denominator stuff. Like when I was trading them, I would be trading like the trendiest YouTube meme from 2000. But the whole point is how much the technology has taken a step down in an order of complexity, how much it's become, it's like the whole system is entropically degrading because it's based on human entropy. Let me try and unpack this a little bit more. People are trying to meet their needs through the technology and to feel safe and secure through the technology, which they can never feel safe and secure through the technology. As you will see in this upcoming podcast, safety is an internal job. The way I define safety is based on your level of resourcefulness to navigate insecurity and meet your own needs. And you depend on the world to do that, but nobody can do that for you. And so we're making technology about that. And what we do is we make the technology itself fragile, more simple, and an expression of our insecurity. We turn crypto with the promise of decentralization into profit and meme coins. This same thing is happening with AI because it's becoming an articulation or an expression of human insecurity. When we come to a technology, and without even realizing, when we ask the question we're asking is, ooh, what do I need to do? Or how do I need to use this technology so I can feel safe? Another way that expresses is, how do I win from this? Another expression of that question is, how do I capture the market? How do we get first mover advantage? How do we become the first to win the arms race? And so when we come to technology with that inevitably playing out implicitly and invisibly, we repeat upon the lose-lose game. The technology becomes an expression of the lose-lose game. We fragment it, make it anti-resilient, and we don't get to ask the question, what does this technology need to be secure or to flourish? This is the same exact thing with having children, where if we are raising our children in a way for us to feel safe, they become an expression of our trauma. So technology is something we are birthing. You could think of it as a digital or technological child. And it becomes an expression of our trauma when we are building it and interfacing it and using it in a way to feel good, because it doesn't have an inherent makeup to it. It doesn't have a predestination or a disposition of what it's supposed to be. It is becoming literally what we program it to become based on our interaction with it. And so when we come to the technology with trauma, asking collective, so it happens individually, but it's a collective pattern, to say, how do I use this technology so I can feel good or so I can get ahead? The technology becomes that. It's written in the DNA because the users and the way they interface with it are building and forming the technology. And so the technology becomes an expression of the collective trauma inputted into it. Instead, when a child gets raised and you realize, okay, this is going to bring up a lot of my own insecurity because I don't feel fully secure. What does fully secure mean? When we're parenting, you're not supposed to feel fully secure. It's going to bring up a lot of your stuff, but then your healing's in it too. And you don't project it onto the child because the child needs your help to meet its needs and to grow. And the child can't hold your insecurity, or it becomes an expression of it. So instead, what parenting becomes is this awesome way to learn about yourself and heal. This awesome way to say, wow, this is bringing up the shit for me. If I actually want to parent and love better, I have to learn to deal with this stuff myself. So the kid becomes the absolute amazing forcing function on how to grow and become more loving as a human. And what it creates is it not only helps you grow and become more loving as a human, but it creates kids who are more loving. What if we looked at technology that way, where it was an opportunity to see all the insecurity and unhealed wounds within us and to work on that, but to not project it onto the technology, hoping the technology can change so it can make us feel better. The technology itself is a pointer to healing, but it is not the healing. It cannot give you your resourcefulness. It cannot give you your sovereignty. It cannot meet your needs for you. What it can't do, it will mimic. It can't teach you how to meet your needs for yourself. And we've created this perfect mirror in AI, which is so close to it, but will never be the thing. And so, the people, strangely in the paradox here, but the people who are going to be the best movers in the space, who will use this technology, quote unquote, most agentically, who will create the most positive, the most omnipositive value for people in the space, and who probably will win, aren't those who are going to get lost in the hysteria, but are instead those who can see beyond the hysteria, hold their ground and their footing, and retain their clarity.